Everyone noticed it before she ever admitted it. Boys came and went through the corridors of her life, laughing too loudly, trying too hard, offering flowers, compliments, invitations she always declined with a polite smile. She never hated them. She just never felt anything. No spark. No pull. Nothing that lingered after they walked away. Her name was Era, and she had learned early how to ignore questions about crushes, how to laugh when friends teased her for being too picky. It was easier than explaining the hollow feeling she got every time someone expected her heart to race, and it didn't. The only person who never asked was Lena. Lena had been her best friend since forever. Since scraped knees and shared secrets. Since late-night talks on rooftops and borrowed clothes that smelled like each other by accident. Lena knew Era better than anyone, and that was exactly the problem. Because Era noticed things she shouldn't have. Like how Lena's laughter settled warmly in her chest. How her world felt steadier when Lena walked beside her. How her eyes followed Lena without permission, watching the way she tucked her hair behind her ear, the softness of her smile when she thought no one was looking. Era told herself it was normal. Best friends felt close. Best friends cared deeply. But normal didn't make her heart race when Lena leaned too close. Normal didn't make her breath hitch when their hands brushed. Normal didn't make her dream of lips she'd never kissed. One evening, they lay side by side on Era's bed, sharing earphones, the room dim and quiet. Lena turned her head slightly, their faces inches apart. "You're quiet," Lena murmured. Era swallowed. "Just tired." Lena smiled softly. "You always say that when you're thinking too much." Their eyes met, and something fragile and electric passed between them. Era looked away first. Because if she didn't, she was afraid Lena would see the truth she was only just beginning to understand. Era began noticing it everywhere, how Lena fit into her life like a quiet constant she had taken for granted. They were older now, living on their own, navigating work, responsibilities, the weight of becoming adults. Yet nothing had changed between them. They still met after long days, still shared meals, still talked until midnight about everything and nothing. Lena still curled her legs beneath her on Era's couch, still stole her hoodies, still rested her head on Era's shoulder like it was the most natural thing in the world. And that was the problem. Because Era's heart no longer understood natural. One evening, they walked home together under dim street lights. Lena talked about a boy from work, sweet, harmless, clearly interested. Era listened, smiling when expected, nodding at the right moments. But her chest felt tight, like something invisible was pressing down on it. "Do you think I should say yes?" Lena asked casually. Era stopped walking. Lena turned, surprised. "What?" Era forced a laugh. "If you like him, sure." Lena studied her face, eyes narrowing slightly. "You don't sound convinced." Era shrugged. "It's your life." But later that night, alone in her room, Era stared at the ceiling and admitted the truth she'd been avoiding. She didn't want Lena with anyone else. Not a boy. Not anyone. The realization terrified her. Days later, during a movie night, Lena rested her head on Era's chest, fingers absently tracing patterns on her arm. Era's breath slowed, her entire body painfully aware of every point of contact. The scent of Lena's shampoo filled her senses, familiar and intoxicating. "Era," Lena whispered suddenly. "Yes?" "Have you ever liked someone and been afraid to say it?" Era's heart slammed against her ribs. "Why do you ask?" Lena lifted her head. Their faces were close, too close. Her gaze dropped briefly to Era's lips before flickering back up. "No reason," Lena said softly. But her voice trembled. The air between them thickened. Era felt pulled forward by something stronger than fear, stronger than doubt. Their lips didn't touch. But they almost did. And sometimes, almost was enough to change everything. They pretended nothing had happened. For days after that almost moment, Era and Lena moved carefully around each other, like stepping near fragile glass. Their conversation stayed light. Their laughter returned, but something unspoken hovered between them, soft and dangerous. It was Lena who finally broke the silence. She showed up at Era's place late one evening, rain clinging to her hair, eyes darker than usual. Without asking, she stepped inside, kicked off her shoes, and stood there like she didn't know where to put her hands. "Era," she said quietly. "Do you ever feel like we're standing on the edge of something?" Era's heart stuttered. "What do you mean?" Lena took a step closer. Then another. Like one wrong move could change everything. But not moving hurts just as much. Era swallowed hard. The room felt smaller. Warmer. Too intimate to breathe properly. "I don't ignore boys because I'm cold," Era admitted softly. "I ignore them because they never made me feel the way." She stopped. "The way I do?" Lena finished, her voice barely above a whisper. Their eyes locked. Lena reached out, hesitating only for a second before her fingers brushed Era's wrist. The touch was gentle, uncertain. But it sent electricity through Era's entire body. "If this ruins us," Lena began. "It won't," Era said, surprising herself with the certainty in her voice. "I don't think loving you could ever ruin anything." That was all it took. Lena leaned in slowly, giving Era time to pull away. She didn't. Their lips met in a soft, trembling kiss, barely there at first, like a question. Era's breath caught as Lena's mouth moved against hers, warm and hesitant, tasting like rain and fear and longing. The kiss deepened, not rushed, not desperate, just honest. Years of unspoken emotion folded into that single moment. Era lifted her hand to Lena's cheek, holding her like something precious. When they finally pulled apart, foreheads resting together, both were breathing hard. Lena smiled, eyes shining. "So, that's why you ignored every boy." Era smiled back. "I was waiting for you." After the kiss, nothing felt the same, and yet everything felt right. Lena stayed that night. They didn't rush anything. They sat close on the couch, knees touching, fingers occasionally brushing like small reassurances that the moment hadn't been imagined. Every smile carried a new meaning. Every silence felt heavy with possibility. "I'm scared," Lena admitted softly, tracing the seam of Era's sleeve. "Not of you. Of losing what we had." Era turned toward her. "What we had was friendship. What we have now, it's more. And I don't want less anymore." Lena looked at her for a long moment before leaning in again, this time without hesitation. The kiss was slower, deeper, more certain. Lena's lips moved against Era's with growing confidence, like she was finally allowing herself to want what she'd always felt. Era's hand slid to Lena's waist, holding her close, grounding herself in the reality of her. Lena sighed softly into the kiss, resting her forehead against Era's when they parted. From that night on, love unfolded quietly. Morning coffees turned into shared breakfasts. Lena started leaving toothbrushes, clothes, little pieces of herself behind. They held hands when no one was watching, and sometimes when people were. Era discovered how much she loved the way Lena smiled after a kiss, shy and glowing like she was still surprised she was allowed to be this happy. One evening, lying side by side, Lena traced circles on Era's chest. I used to think something was wrong with me, she confessed. That I just hadn't met the right guy. Era kissed her hair. Turns out, it wasn't a guy at all. Lena laughed softly and kissed her, slow, lingering, full of warmth. Not desperate. Not forbidden anymore. Just theirs. Outside, the world kept moving. Expectations remained. Questions lingered. But inside that room, wrapped in each other's arms, Era knew one thing with absolute clarity. She hadn't ignored every boy by accident. She had been saving her heart for the girl who already owned it. Love felt easy when it was just the two of them. But the world had a way of pressing in, curious looks, careless questions, expectations neither of them had ever agreed to. It started small. A coworker asking Lena why she never talked about men anymore. A friend teasing Era about finally settling down when they saw Lena always by her side. Each comment slid under their skin, quiet but sharp. One evening, after a family gathering where Era had dodged too many questions, she closed the door behind them and leaned against it, exhausted. Sometimes, she admitted, I wish we could just exist without explaining ourselves. Lena crossed the room and took her hands. We don't owe anyone an explanation. But it still hurts, Era said softly. Feeling like we're doing something wrong just by loving each other. Lena lifted her chin gently. Look at me. Era did. I have never felt more right than I do with you, Lena said. Not once. Not for a second. Era's eyes burned. She pulled Lena into a kiss. Slow, reassuring, full of promise. Lena kissed her back with equal tenderness, hands resting firmly on Era's waist like she belonged there. Later, lying together in the quiet, Lena traced invisible lines along Era's arm. If this gets hard, she whispered, promise you won't shut me out. I promise, Era said. As long as you promise the same. Outside, rumors grew louder. Inside, their bond deepened. They learned how to be brave together. How to speak up when it mattered and hold each other when words failed. They learned that love wasn't just kisses in dim rooms, but choosing each other even when it would have been easier not to. One night, standing under the stars, Lena squeezed Era's hand. I don't regret falling for you. Era smiled, heart steady and sure. Neither do I. I'd choose you every time. And in that moment, the world felt a little quieter. The fear didn't disappear overnight. Some days were heavy. Days when Era felt the weight of expectations pressing against her ribs. Days when Lena grew quiet after overhearing a careless comment or seeing a familiar look of judgment. Love didn't erase the world's sharp edges. It just gave them something strong enough to hold on to. One evening, after a long, difficult day, Lena stood at Era's window, watching the city lights flicker on. Do you ever wonder, she asked softly, if choosing this means giving something else up? Era came up behind her, wrapping her arms around Lena's waist. I wondered, she admitted. Until I realized I wasn't giving anything up. I was finally choosing what was true. Lena turned, eye searching Era's face. And you're not afraid? I am, Era said honestly. But I'm more afraid of a life without you. Lena's breath caught. She leaned in, kissing Era slowly, deliberately, like sealing a promise. The kiss wasn't urgent. It was steady. Certain. A kiss that said I'm here. I'm staying. That night, they talked for hours, about the future, about fears, about the simple dreams they wanted to build together. Morning light found them tangled in each other's arms, peaceful in a way that felt earned. From then on, they stopped hiding. They walked hand in hand in public. They introduced each other without hesitation. Some people smiled. Some didn't. But every step felt lighter than the last. One afternoon, sitting on a park bench, Lena rested her head on Era's shoulder. "You know," she said with a soft smile, "I used to think love was supposed to look a certain way." Era kissed her temple. "Me too. But this," Lena continued, squeezing her hand, "this feels like home." Era smiled, heart full and unafraid. She had ignored every boy not because she was waiting, but because her heart already knew where it belonged. And now, she was brave enough to say it out loud. Time softened them. Not in the way that dulls love, but in the way that deepens it, rounds its sharp edges, turns passion into something steady and sure. Era learned the quiet rituals of loving Lena, how she took her tea, how she hummed when she was nervous, how she reached for Era's hand in her sleep like an instinct she didn't question anymore. Lena learned Era's silences. She learned when to speak and when to simply stay close, when a kiss on the cheek meant comfort and when a slow kiss on the lips meant "don't let go of me." One evening, rain tapping softly against the windows, they cooked dinner together. Music played low. Lena danced clumsily around the kitchen, laughing when Era pulled her close. "You're staring again," Lena teased. Era smiled, brushing her thumb along Lena's jaw. "I'm just thinking how strange it is." "What is?" "That I spent so long believing love would arrive loudly," Era said. "When it was actually right here, growing quietly beside me." Lena's smile softened. She leaned in, kissing Era, unhurried, warm, familiar in the most beautiful way. The kind of kiss that didn't need urgency because it trusted tomorrow. Later, curled together on the couch, Lena traced lazy circles on Era's palm. "Do you ever miss the person you were before all this?" she asked. Era thought for a moment. "No," she said honestly. She was lost. This version of me knows who she loves. Lena kissed her fingers, one by one, like a promise. "Then let's keep choosing each other. Even when it's boring. Even when it's hard." Era pulled her close, resting her forehead against Lena's. "Especially then." Outside, the rain slowed. Inside, love settled into its true shape, not dramatic, not fragile, but enduring. And Era knew, with calm certainty, that ignoring every boy had never been a loss. It had been the path that led her home. Seasons changed. Days passed. And through it all, Era and Lena's love remained a constant, quiet force, one that didn't shout to the world but whispered to them in every touch, every glance, every shared silence. One crisp evening, they walked through the park where they had first realized their feelings weren't just friendship. Golden leaves crunched underfoot. Lena slipped her hand into Era's, fingers lacing perfectly. "I still remember that night," Lena said softly, "when we finally kissed. I was so scared, but it felt like I was coming home." Era smiled, squeezing her hand. "I felt the same. Like everything else had been waiting for that moment to make sense." They sat on their favorite bench. Lena rested her head on Era's shoulder, and Era felt the steady rhythm of her heartbeat against her own chest. There were no words needed, only the comfort of presence, the warmth of knowing someone loved you fully and unconditionally. Lena tilted her face up, lips brushing Era's in a soft, lingering kiss. "I never want to go back to pretending," she whispered. Era cupped Lena's cheek. "Neither do I. I don't want anyone else. I don't want anything else. Just you." Their kiss deepened, gentle and tender yet full of the intensity that had always simmered beneath their friendship. It was a kiss that carried laughter, shared memories, and unspoken promises. A kiss that said I choose you. Always. As the sun set, painting the sky in pink and gold, they stayed entwined, wrapped in each other's arms. No fears. No doubts. Only love, the kind that had been patient, quiet, and relentless. And in that moment, Erin knew she had found the love she had been waiting for all along, not in boys, not in fleeting flings, but in the heart of her best friend. She ignored every boy. She followed her heart. And it had led her straight to Lena. Forever felt like it had always been theirs.